There was never a time that I loved fighting more than when I was doing it for free. It sounds crazy. The professional level was still getting paid peanuts, right? So we were just doing it because we loved to fight.
Welcome back to the Prime People Podcast. In this episode, you are going to hear from two UFC superstars who are actually launching a brand new MMA promotion and building it from the ground up. Why this is important to you is you really need to understand how much a brand matters. In this episode, they're going to discuss how they're going to be separating themselves from everything else that exists in that industry and how they are literally carving a new path and have a very focused vision on what that looks like. So for context on the guest, Chris the Polish Hammer Horodecki was born in 1987, started MMA at 13, and was one of the youngest fighters ever to achieve major success in the IFL and was a pioneer for Canadian MMA on the world stage, including the UFC. Sam Hands of Stone Stout was one of the most consistent and exciting lightweights in the UFC history, played a massive role in putting London, Ontario on the map. Another member like Chris of Team Tompkins, a legendary MMA coach, has 7 Fight of the Night awards and is highly respected in the industry. And they, along with Mark Hominick, are the co-owners of Adrenaline MMA. Located in little old London, Ontario, we literally have world-class talents and minds. But I love the fact that we're going to dig into Rising Stars, the new amateur MMA promotion that they are creating. They are trying to become like the F2 to the F1 and create a very, very high-level pool to let the best talent rise to the top, and they are actually putting the fighters first. This translates to so many industries because you're going to look at how they're looking at the craft and the art of what they do, and then build a company that's going to curate the best of the best. So whether you're a real estate agent, an entrepreneur, or a mixed martial artist, I think you're all going to enjoy this episode.
So no, when I was talking about the Paramount deal, so when UFC decided that they were going to turn around and say, hey, we're going to do a deal with Paramount, like optically you're like, well, if you were getting $70 an event and then you go online, what that did for somebody like myself was like, well, now I'm going to watch every single event just versus picking like the 5 cards that I really, really want to see.
Yeah. That's basically it, right? We want to make this something that people want to be a part of, and people, not just part of the fights, but part of like the whole atmosphere, the whole energy that we have, and kind of changing the landscape in the mixed martial arts community, make it more about the martial arts, the respect, the integrity, you know, the honor for the coaches that have paved the path, right? And that's something different that we're doing on Saturday too, right? Sure. We're going to be presenting an award on Saturday night for one of the local legends in the martial arts community in London, Ontario. So it's just completely different. We're just trying to change it. You got to change that landscape a little bit if you want to bring out a new product and make something that somebody's interested in, right? And we're going to back it with the fights too. The fights are going to deliver.
What is the current landscape of?
I mean, the issue that, and the reason that we've wanted to get into this is, you know, and we've been doing our kind of exhibition series at our gym for years, and sure. It's to build experience, and we try and run it like a professional show. Like, you know, everything runs on time. Everyone's on weight. Weigh-ins are at this time. If you're not there, you're going to hear about it. Like, we want to get these guys. It's not just getting in the ring and fighting that gets you prepared to be a fighter. It's getting, you know, it's all the things. It's getting your blood work in, your medicals in on time, showing up on time for weigh-ins. It's showing respect to you know, your fellow fighters. And, you know, a lot of these guys are.
Whoa, the first step to professionalism.
Can't take them anywhere.
The first step to professionalism, right? But honestly, it is like that, showing up on weight, being prepared, having your equipment, like little things like that, right? And we try to get our guys ready. We're not trying to bring them to the backyard brawls, right? We're trying to get them ready for the next step.
And that's one thing that where we have an interesting kind of you know, our experiences. We've been at every level. We've been to, you know, we've been fighters, we've been coaches, we've been to the big shows, we've been to the little shows, we've done it all. So we've seen where people go wrong on these events, and we've seen where kind of promoters make it all about a bottom line and they cut corners where they shouldn't be cut.
Yeah, so there's no jobs that are really safe right now, except for like jobs where you need that human interaction. You need the talk between people.
I told my assistant she just had a baby, so I was like, oh crap, like, and she does everything for me. Like, she write my calendar, email, everything. I had it replaced in 3 days with an AI full-time 24/7 agentic agent that's better at her job than she is. And I just told her, I said, well, the good news for you now is you're going to come back and your job isn't going to do the clerical work anymore. You're actually going to just manage the agent. So like, I don't care if you're at the beach with your baby, just as long as the work gets done, just make sure Optimus is doing what he's supposed to be doing, right? So I'm like, your job is just changing from what it was.
It's wild, almost like the creativity aspect is being taken away too, right? Because AI is getting so high tech right now. The creativity, like they're writing songs, they're putting together collages and stuff that we always did as humans, and we did that. They're kind of overtaking us.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So sorry, what did we leave off? What was
we were saying like what we're looking for with this show and where we want to set ourselves apart is for one, we want to make it as pleasurable and as an experience for the martial artists and the talent, the coaches.
Sure.
We want it running smoothly. We want it running on time. Like all the things that always bothered us about a show that we were part of. And like really, that's what you should be thinking about is the fighters.
Sure.
Like, I mean, you obviously want to put a great product together, and you want to make it a very entertaining show, and visually, appealing for the fans. But I mean, who you really got to take care of is, and what we're trying to do is make a show for the fighters.
Yeah.
Where it's giving them a stage, but it's also teaching them they're learning the lessons that they got to learn before they make it to the next levels.
Yeah.
And a big thing too in the matchmaking, not mismatching people, giving people the actual projection. We're trying to be honest. We're not giving our guys easy fights here too. Like our guys are fighting tough guys. We're bringing in a guy from the U.S. to fight in our main event, tough, scrappy Mexican kid from Chicago, and he's fighting our top dog, Braden Todd, very well. He could come out with this belt that we're making for him. It very well it could be going to the stateside. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we don't try to like put ourselves in complete advantage. We're trying to build the guys up properly, which is what amateur sports is about, 100%. Right? You're trying to create that progression. You're trying to create avenues, getting them competing in jiu-jitsu, getting them doing kickboxing fights, getting them in doing MMA cage, and kind of get them ready. And another thing we're doing on Saturday is we're doing kickboxing in a cage. So that's really a unique concept too. So the people, we try to get our guys to transition prior to going the MMA route to at least get a handful of striking experience. So we would do that through our exhibitions. We'd get them in the ring. Well, this is actually the next step. To be able to feel the corners, to feel the angles, to feel that ring generalship, that cage generalship being in a cage. So that's kind of like the next step too. So we're going to have about half the card is going to be kickboxing in a cage.
I think kickboxing is like one of the most overlooked sports as well too.
Definitely the most exciting sport in the world.
By far, right? I just don't think just goes into maybe the general public that's watching this wondering like, this is something that I've always been curious about, but they don't understand what it is. You touched on it at the beginning of the episode, as you said, like, it's not a backroom brawl. That's what people don't understand. It's Rogan has said this a million times. It's high level problem solving with dire physical consequences, right? And I think there's such an art form to it where it is something that I think people, if they really understood what was happening in the cage, the expression of the culmination of training of both of these fighters to a peak in a professional organization that's really trying to show that this is a sport, it would completely shift their perception that you're not going to watch necessarily a backroom brawl. You're going to watch it's like watching gymnasts. Yeah. They just happen to be people who specialize in fighting, right? And I think that has been missing massively with other organizations I've ever seen. I've never really seen one do it to the same caliber that you're talking about doing it. And I think it'll bring in a whole new audience of people to a sport that, everybody's curious about fighting because we've been fighting since we were little kids in school, but they just don't really understand what it is.
It's that martial arts mentality, right? Like that honor, that discipline, the respect. Yes, it could be absolutely brutal. Yeah. You can get hurt. This sport isn't like you're playing pickleball on the weekend. This is not, a pickup soccer game. Like you can get hurt. And I try to stress that when I'm coaching and try to make it as real as possible that, guys, you need to take this very, very seriously. Yes, it's all in good fun in the sense that we're playing a sport, but you can get hurt. And then there needs to be that sense of realism with that because people have been hurt. And people, we do everything on our part in the terms of the medicals, the equipment, the training.
Ringside doctors.
Ringside doctors, right? Paramedics in-house.
The safety and that goes back to the matchmaking. We're saying some of these guys that are promoting fights have never fought. Yeah. So they don't, so they're like, we need to fill this spot. Well, this guy will take the fight, but really the guy has no business taking the fight, right? And we're not going to make fights like that. If a fight doesn't make sense, in terms of matchups, in terms of experience level, we're not going to make it happen. We're not going to put nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, right? We want to see competitive fights where it could go either way.
Pushing each other to the limit because you're probably going to see the best expression of the sport from two people that are in a similar place and they push themselves beyond their capabilities. They're like, I can do that now. Yeah. And then they go back to the gym. Again, this amateur show, going to the pros. NCAA is one of the best leagues out there because of that. Like,
people
the
are way
kids
more
getting
hype.
it. They're all, it's so pure.
Way
'cause
more
there's
hype
no money
about
in
that,
it,
right?
Everyone's
Like,
hungry. Everyone's doing it for the love of the game, right?
exactly. And there's that teetering where like they do it for the love of the game. They become pro, then it becomes a business, and there's a balance of that purism that you're talking about, where like the expressions of martial artisms that I've seen through my life again have helped me in times where I could have gone in different directions. Just having the brotherhood or people that would at least help me be more disciplined than I'd be on my own and whatever, right?
And I will say, like, going back to that, there was never a time that I loved fighting more than when I was doing it for free. Yeah. It sounds crazy, and it's like,
No
but,
pressure.
I mean, when
There
we
was no
first
pressure.
started, the professional level was still getting paid peanuts, right? So we were just doing it because we loved to fight.
And we built like a huge, like the family that we built
was
through
a family.
those free fights that we put on, and the trips, the connections, the training camps, the brotherhood that was built. That was something that's never going to go away. We're still here together, 25 years,
And we're still
It's the same
using,
group.
I mean, the guy who's fighting Braden is from a connection we made with Jeff Curran 25 years ago. Right?
So
Or
if you know,
20 years
if you,
ago.
people that don't know who Jeff Curran is, he's one of the pioneers of mixed martial arts. He actually fought I believe it was 60 fights, over 60 fights in MMA.
A lot of them in the UFC and WEC. The
UFC,
big
WEC.
organizations.
He fought in Pride. He fought in Bellator. He fought in everything, right? So Jeff has he has been there, done that, got the T-shirt guy, right? Jeff is the man. I keep in contact with him, still through this day. My family's in Chicago, so I always, whenever I visit them, I try to touch base. I see with him at his retreat every year. Last 4 years, I went down, go to his jiu-jitsu retreat down in Florida. So we keep that connection.
So one of his training partners, or one of our training partners from back in those days when we'd go train there, is the coach of of the guy who's fighting Braden in the main event. So yeah, we got those connections last, and a lot. You make really strong bonds with like literal blood, sweat, and tears that we're putting into that we've put into these sports over there. So a lot of these people become lifelong friends and connections. And
it's exactly why we're still friends with you, right? You 10 years ago, you're on the mat, you're choking each other out. We build that bond, right? And you keep that connection.
Longer than that.
Longer than that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
funny.
talking about the last time you were on the mat.
Yeah, I'm there with him, but yeah, it's funny the conversation, like that conversation. There's two parts to life, right? One is the fact that you learn, you earn, then you return, right?
Yep.
You go through the learning phase in life, you gather a whole bunch of knowledge, then you apply it, earn a living, get a lot of experience. And then you get to this phase in life where you can just sit on that yourself and be selfish, or you can start returning it to the younger generation. And like again, my industry in real estate, your industry in the fight game, I look at the landscape of what my industry is, and part of what I try and do is try and make the industry better by stuff that like wasn't there for me when I was coming up in it, or like airing stuff out to the public that may try and save them from making mistakes. Because it's just the information is just not out there. And it's like you guys are coming in and starting an entire organization to create something that's never been done before. But I think the legacy of Team Tompkins and how much you guys honor that, I see it consistently. It matters so much because it shows the next generation something that I think is just massively lacking in a society that's addicted to instant gratification.
Yeah.
They almost forget who laid down the road before.
Well, that's the thing, is that people forget that. And unless you've been in the military or unless you've done martial arts, you kind of forget the concept of the hierarchy, right? And the people that have passed down. So if you look at our academy, and most jiu-jitsu academies, they have a picture of Helio Gracie up.
Yep.
And why do they have a picture of Helio Gracie up? Well, why?
Out of respect, because
Out of
he laid-
respect,
yeah, he laid
because
the road.
he paved the path for the sport that they're doing to this day, right? Some people misconceive that as being a form of worship. I don't consider that worship, right? We're not worshiping a piece of paper right there, right? You're just paying respect, and you're honoring the people that have paved the path. We got a picture of Sean Tompkins, who he paved the path for us and gave us the direction of where our careers and our lives went, more than careers, for sure, in the direction and the mindset that he gave us. So that's something. And the military does the same thing. There's a corporal, there's a general, there's a standard of things, and people need that, right? The young generation right now, they want instant gratification. They want to be superstars immediately through the phone, through the cell phone, through what their TikToks can be. Sure. But the second you go into the martial arts gym and you realize that you're a white belt, You don't know nothing.
It's a humbling experience.
You don't know how to tie your belt. And there's always somebody tougher than you. So once you even get to that black belt level, you know that. At that point, you should know that you basically have overcame the first hill. And from that point, then it's the valley. That's the huge valley when you start seeing that people are better than you and that there's another level to this. And then that creates that true humility that people need.
Yeah, which is something that's sorely lacking in a lot of today's society, right? And it's like, you know, you got to earn it if you come into pretty much any martial arts gym. Nobody gets a free pass to the top. Everyone's got to work their way up from the bottom, and that's something that a lot of people don't want to do anymore. They want to start off at the top, or at least the middle. Nobody wants to start from the bottom anymore.
They want to pay their way there, or like,
and there you don't have a choice.
The problem with that then becomes too, like, if you haven't earned it, you won't value it. Like, you won't. It's all the painful lessons in my past that actually I remember more than the instant gratifications. And like you said, like there's no beginning or end to martial arts, because once you get there, you realize that there's always different pathways, and there's things that are going to work for some people, not for others. There's going to be other people who are going to dedicate every single day, 3 times a day. They're going to live, breathe, and eat in the gym, and then other people that are going to be weekend warriors.
And right? I mean, like, obviously, it sounds kind of cliche that it's like, oh, you win or you learn, but really the wins are, you know, when you look back at the wins, like when I look back at my big kind of banner moments and my big wins in my career, it's like when I think back and why did I don't just think about, oh, that fight was easy. No, the camp was the hardest camp I ever had. And that's why the fight was easy, right? And it was kind of learning those lessons and teaching the younger generation at our gym those lessons. That's kind of what gets me out of bed in the morning. And like, you know, I'm not in there competing anymore, but I'm living vicariously through some of these young guys and seeing the lessons that we try and instill in them in the gym. And when you see them come to fruition in a fight, you see them do working a system that we've worked on through that camp. That's where the gratification comes from for me, and seeing them become resilient, tough human beings.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it's a cool thing with martial arts too, is because you can literally on that same mat, that same jiu-jitsu mat, or that same kickboxing floor, you can have people that are aspiring to be competitive grapplers or competitive 100%. Mixed martial artists. Yep. Same time, you can have a real estate, you can have a doctor, you can have a police officer, you can have a hobbyist. Like, it's everybody. That's the really cool thing about martial arts and our academy, that we have so many different people from so many different walks of life that we probably would never hang out on a day-to-day basis. Our paths would have never crossed. But now that, because we train, we get each other. We have that common ground, and then we become friends outside of the gym, and then we start hanging out. Like, that's a really cool thing, that, you know, on that same mat, you can share so many different perspectives and so many different personalities, all working towards the same thing.
Yeah, and you see that. I mean, I remember going into when I was there last, you were talking to me about guys that had gotten there when they were children, who were like, even guys after my hip surgery, and I started coming back and I started getting back into the gym and looking at
Braden,
around
Braden,
me.
Our main event.
Braden, exactly. Braden was on this podcast.
7 years old.
And like seeing them develop, there's so much fun in that piece of it as well. Yeah. And like you being on the back end, where like you could almost think about what Sean was like when you guys were younger, and he was doing the same thing with you guys, and then you pay it forward. That legacy matters more than any win, any amount of money ever would be worth, because it is absolutely priceless. Because you've seen these kids go through, literally they could have gone down this path and completely destroyed their
and
life,
almost have
on this path.
And it's nice because we've been able to pull them, veer, like when they're,
you
it's
see
like,
it
and sometimes they need a little extra pull, a little kick in the rear. You're talking about the youth, like on our show this weekend, we got a couple studs. Like we got a 13 and a 14-year-old girl that are going to be competing against each other in kickboxing. And man, this girl Piper from Sarnia, Ontario, she is a killer. Like I remember the last time she fought a boy. She had to fight a boy, so what a lose-lose for him. Yeah. But she came out and she was just throwing heavy taekwondo kicks and like the ferocious, like screaming, ah. And so she's fighting a girl from Dennis Purek's gym. So Dennis Purek, Dennis Purek,
ONE
FC, some of the biggest shows in Asia. Dennis Purek has done. He's done like MMA kickboxing, where basically wearing MMA gloves, kickboxing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he's fighting a girl. She's fighting a girl named Yasmina from his gym, and like he's told me, this chick is really good. This girl is really, really good, man. So this is going to be super
You're gonna have
exciting.
some good young talent to watch out for. I got a kid named Liam Jones.
Yeah, he's opening up the card this weekend.
Goes to Clark Road. He'll be the first fight of the night. So if you're planning on coming, don't show up late because this kid has got it all. He came in with his couple buddies from his hockey team just to do some kind of something different, some different kind of training. And within the first day, I was like, okay, this kid's got something special. And since then, he's quit hockey. I got him to join his wrestling team, so he just made it to OFSA for his third year wrestling. Made it to OFSA in the second year. Made it top 10 this year. I would imagine he'll be on the podium for OFSA, and his striking's better than his wrestling.
Oh yeah.
So he's fighting a kickboxing fight this weekend, opening up our card. 16 years old. Wait till you see this kid.
And the kid's like, he's jacked. You know what I mean? He's got
and like
he's a little Bill Goldberg. Yeah. Like he's jacked in like a miniature version, man. Like he's in great shape. And actually, one of the greatest thing about him is he has everything ready. You know what I mean? I said, Liam, you need to have this and this. Medical's done. Everything was presented weeks in advance. Weeks in advance. Paper in hand, everything was presented. I wish all the fighters were like that.
Yeah, we got some of our veterans that we need to hold their hand through the whole process. And this kid, got it all done himself. Was on the ball. Great head on his shoulders. The kid, I'm telling you, watch this kid, and you can say you saw one of his first fights because I think he'll be fighting on the world stages.
That's one of the coolest things too, is that people can come and watch these guys, and there's some of them. This could be the highlight of their life, you know what I mean? This Saturday fighting at the Marconi Club. But some of them, you're just watching that first step into potentially a huge career in some big organizations. So you want to be a part of that, right? Same thing. London is such a big hockey town, and OHL, the London Knights. We've seen so many people gone through, the John Labatt Center, the Budweiser Garden, and that have made it to the NHL. And like you can be proudly saying that you were a part of that. You watched them when they played in the OHL. Same thing here, right? You're going to be able to watch these guys on the come up as they're making their way to the professional ranks.
Back in the day when he was nobody, right? So, no, but I think it's the same thing.
Justin Konikoff.
Yeah. Check out the backwards hat, the affliction shirt too, and everything. But I bring this up for the reason that I think a lot of people don't realize the opportunities in life.
What show was this?
It was in London.
That was the John Labatt one.
Yeah, it was the JLC.
Oh, okay, I remember when they were.
But he was on the come up back then, right? And you meet these people along the way, and people miss the opportunity of, like, to me, I think seeing an athlete early on in development. Everybody loves people once they have the titles and they do all these things. Yeah. But I'm like, there's something.
No, there's something cool about spotting a guy like that, or like. Like this kid Liam Jones, or like,
sure.
And like I knew that guy was gonna make it, and then it's like, you feel an attachment to.
Well, the reason I bring it up, so last week on this podcast, I had a 3-time Olympian. She's a basketball star in London. I met her through Top 20 Under 40. She's a killer. She does high performance coaching now, so she goes into businesses and like talks to them about mindset. So she was just in the Olympics for Team Canada. She kind of coaches them. And she was talking about neuroplasticity and having the right people around. And I asked her, I'm like, what do you wish you knew when you went to your first Olympics? And she's like, man, just the negative self-talk and like what I was capable of. So like if you have somebody like yourselves that see a kid like that and are like, man, like you've got some natural movement patterns, you seem to have the discipline, the mindset, you keep showing up, and like we throw stuff at you and you keep bouncing back. The sky is the limit. You could actually change that kid's idea of what's possible through that mentorship. With
absolutely.
That
yeah, and there's the other side of that coin too, right? You got somebody who have the lack of confidence, and some who have the overconfidence. Sure. You got to find you got to coach all these guys differently. You got to have them. Give them a different. Everyone gets a different pep talk in the coach's room, right?
That's something our coach was really good at. Like Sean Tompkins, he was really good at like strategizing each person's coaching a little bit differently. Right? Because his camp, his roster was so big, right? Yeah. Talking about Randy Couture, Vanderlei Silva, us three.
Mark, you're all different people.
All different people, all different walks of life.
Just look at me, Mark, and Chris in the smallest microcosm of it. Like we're all
different personalities, completely different, right? And different styles too. So that was really good, and that's something that we took away too. You can't coach everyone the same. There's no really blueprint for everybody that works for everybody, right?
Yeah, I think, not going down a wormhole, but I think that's what's wrong with the public education system right now, is they try and throw a blueprint at these kids that are all so dynamic and so different, and they don't have time to do that one-on-one coaching. I love obviously what you guys do from a family perspective at the gym, But this is a nice natural extension of that, where trying to curate that within the community, showing kids what's possible, and even showing people that we can come together as a community around a sport and meet people from all walks of life. You touched on it earlier. Like when we would be on the mats, I would see kids that were in high school. I would see senior citizens. I would see lawyers. I would see people who had no jobs, and some people who were on the verge of homelessness. But the thing was,
Cops and criminals.
You'd have no idea though. We'd all be wearing a gi. We'd be
yeah.
just on the mats, and like you would just be there with them.
It's neutral ground, right?
It is, and you'd have people from all walks of life, faiths, and lack of faith. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Countries that are at war with each other. I'm like, and they're best of friends because they're going through adversity
And
together.
it's so
right?
unique too. You can even like go to a different country and you don't even speak the same language, but
can
somehow you can understand through the martial arts, through the body mechanics, through the movement,
Yep.
and through some head gestures. You understand what's up, right? And become friends with people. Like, and you literally don't even understand a word they're saying, or very, very minimal.
Yep.
That's the cool thing about martial arts, that really it is for everybody, and people should be structuring their lives. Like you're talking about, like the school system. Like I have friends that have young ones and that they struggle, ADHD, highly medicated. And I'm like, man, like you got to get your kid in some sports, get them focused. And I know it's probably not easy. It's all, I don't have a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old that's struggling like that, but I can say like creating that structure, creating that discipline, creating that them to work on something and better themselves and start seeing that positive reinforcement, which is it's a huge thing. You're talking about neuroplasticity, positive reinforcement. Okay, I work hard, good things happen.
You walk away with a skill. Like jiu-jitsu, it was almost like a superpower. And again, people need to understand what they're actually capable of in a real fight versus just being on the mat. But like a trained blue belt against somebody out there in the wild that's never trained a day in their life is in a much better situation. And that positive reinforcement versus going and doom scrolling TikTok for 3 hours, spend a couple hours on the mats, your return on investment and your development as a human being is going to be so much further ahead versus the mental slop that you see online that people are addicted to, right? Junk food, social media, all those things. They just, a lot of times though, going back to what we said earlier, they're just scared because they have this perception that I heard a rumor actually before I ever went to the gym, Hard Knocks. I think before I went into the first gym ever, I think Shannon was there. Ludlow.
Yep.
And somebody was like, yeah, if you go there, they're going to break your nose before you're allowed to train with them. Somebody told me that rumor and I was like, what? And they're like, yeah.
Well, we
like,
did spar pretty hard.
I
But
knew-
that was more between each other.
The fighters, but we weren't beating that.
But it's a misconception, right? Like a general
No, I've heard all
public person-
sorts of crazy rumors about us that it's like there's no foundation in truth in any of these things.
For sure, right? But I think I like doing this because people realize that, going back to what you said. So say I migrated and I moved to Texas tomorrow. One of the first things I can do, I have no friends in Texas. Well, I have some real estate friends, but say I knew nobody. I would go into a jiu-jitsu academy and I would just start training and I would have a baked-in family of people, right?
Yeah.
Like it really does give you something that I think a lot of people are searching for in life. Going back to the business of MMA, what are some like major misconceptions about the business of MMA that you guys are trying to maybe change with this?
Well, like first of all, we're dealing with amateur athletes here, right? So this isn't the professional. So we're talking about the business of the fight promotion game. We want guys to get plenty of experience, right? If you look at our amateur lives and our amateur careers when we were in our teenage years, we competed
All the time.
frequently and we competed in all different disciplines. We did boxing in New York. We fought kickboxing all over the United States, kickboxing all over Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, British Columbia. We fought everywhere and we were active, right? With what's happening now with the whole MMA landscape in the province of Ontario, it's oversaturated. So there's a lot of promoters there because of the Ontario Athletic Commission, it basically got re-legalized last year. So it was kind of on and off and on and off, and now it's back on, and there's an influx of promoters out there, and it's a fighter's market, which is great, right? But we got to have these guys competing often, competing frequently, right? So that's what we want. We don't want guys to be like, we're not holding guys to contracts or anything like that.
Nothing exclusive. You fight for whoever, and like, and if somebody came to one of our guys and said, "Hey, amateur sports, like, if you want one of our guys to sign an exclusive contract saying you can only fight for them, we'll tell them to kick rocks." Like, it's not gonna
It doesn't
happen.
make sense.
It doesn't, and like at the highest levels, there's a lawsuit that
I saw it,
that we're fighting against to kind of ban this thing in the pros.
Yeah.
Let alone like it doesn't, like, you want a free market,
100%.
especially when you're fighting for free,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't
You
make
truly
any sense.
make, again, reference Rogan, what he did with the Comedy Mothership in Austin, Texas. Like, you should look at that model, because he basically took comedians and he's like, these guys are getting hosed by the bars and the places they're performing, and they're literally just a name, so they can sell as many tickets. They'd be jacking tickets through, and it was all about money. And he's like, I just want to create a place.
I think the club only takes 20% just to cover their...
And they give as much back to the fighters as they can, because ultimately, like, they're the ones that, again, going back to what you said, it sounds counterintuitive, but I get it. You take care of the fighters, the art that they're going to put on is naturally going to be the best, and it's going to be the best show for
the products.
These are amateur events. Like, we can't pay these fighters, even if we wanted to.
Of course.
So we can, but that gives us a lot of capital,
Flexibility.
a lot of money to make it. Like, we shouldn't be skimping off of them, trying to fill our own pockets.
Of course.
When we can make this the best experience possible, the closest thing to, a high production pro show, the UFC.
So by the time they get there, it's not just
they feel like
they're not.
They feel
a
well
deer in the
taken care of. They're going to
headlights.
feel like superstars when they're going to walk out on Saturday, and they're going to see the lights, they're going to see the cameras, they're going to see the stage, they're going to see the smoke, they're going to be pumped.
Just things like that, like a high production value where you got lights in your face, so you don't really see the crowd anymore. You don't see a dingy bar or some and having like cameras on on 4 of the ring posts. There's going to be a cameraman in your face. That's going to, when you get into the big shows and you're under those big lights, it doesn't feel as shit. It's not such a shock to your system.
It's still a big shock. Don't kid yourself. Once you go professional, that first fight, but it's a good transition.
Sure.
Right? You've been there. You've done that. You're not in foreign territory, right? Well, that's the biggest thing, is the fear of the unknown, right? And then they're like, oh, what's going to happen? But this is a good transition. It's a lot of pressure. Like, we're putting the show on in London. They get the comfort of, they're fighting at home. They get to sleep in their bed. They don't have to travel. But with that also comes, and that's why fighting on the road was always great. For sure. There's no pressure, right? The guy's coming in. You're not being brought there as a favorite. You're being brought there because you're
going into enemy territory.
You're going to enemy territory, right? So that's the thing that these guys got to take. And they got to be ready for it. Like, they've got all the 600 people that are going to be in attendance, and people watching.
And we're hosting
on TV, on live stream. Sure, they got to be ready because they're watching it for them, right? There's that added pressure.
And we're hosting these shows in London, but we're also working with Reno Belcastro, who owns MTC in Windsor, and he's doing Rising Stars Windsor. And then we got a gym in Brantford.
So we're going to be going to Brantford May 30th. So that's the next one, next stop. So shortly, 6 weeks after, we're doing with Todd Weather from Cage Dragon.
Yeah.
So we're actually very close with him as well. Old training partner of ours with Sean Tompkins. And he's joining up with us as well, right? So we got a really cool concept going on. We're hitting the road. We're going to be doing, at the end of the year, we're doing a hybrid show with Boomer's Boxing. So something that's never been done before. We're gonna,
boxing
and boxing and a boxing and a kickboxing. So we're going to stay shy of the because we got to use the ring, but we're going to use the boxing, kickboxing, do like a double header. So either it's going to be over 2 days or over like afternoon matinee and an evening show. So we got some very cool concepts coming, trying to change the landscape a little bit in this area and with the whole community with the martial arts and the shows. So keep it fun, keep it unique, give the guys that are competing something that they've never had the opportunity to do before. And they're going to love it and the fans are going to love it.
Yeah, the frequency of the events too is a big thing. Because like you guys, when you went up to the big show, probably because of the experience that you had traveling, fighting, you probably were more ready than a lot of other people.
Well,
that
I signed with the UFC when I was just before I was 21.
Yeah.
And I probably had 75 fights. Wow. Like I started right before I turned 17, and I made it to the UFC right before I turned 22. Wow. And I had probably 75 fights in above the waist kickboxing, Muay Thai kickboxing, amateur there was no amateur MMA at the time, but I had 11 MMA fights before I made it to the UFC. Like, I had a lot of experience at 21 years old. And, now I'm looking at some of the guys who started at my age, who are 21, who have 6, 7 fights. And that's not their fault. A lot of it has been
the landscape.
There hasn't been fights to get them on. There hasn't, because there's been so much red tape and so much, whether it be from, a bunch of commissioned people that are standing there in blazers doing absolutely nothing that you're paying a fortune to. It didn't make sense to
the economics of it just didn't make sense.
No. So they finally kind of opened things up. So now we can increase the frequency of fights, and it's not going to it's not going to be a losing venture for us. We're not looking to do this to get rich off it. We're doing it, but we also don't want to lose our shirts on it.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to find a balance, and I think we finally got
to cultivate something new. Like I laugh when you say pickleball. I'm like, there's lots of blown MCLs and ACLs from pickleball competitions out there with people,
but no concussions.
No concussions.
Maybe a couple. Maybe a couple.
I played soccer competitively when I was a kid, and I still remember going to other places to compete against those teams, and I still remember what that felt like, and founding memories that I think a lot of people are missing. I like that you're cultivating kind of that road show ability as well too, when you guys figure out the nuts and bolts of it too.
Yeah,
it's only going to get better as it goes.
And one of the things that's important about this is weeding out the people who want to do it and haven't realized they're not cut out for it, right? Like,
for sure.
We're not going to carry a bunch of people through here that shouldn't be here. We're not going to find you, a can to fight just because you want to be a fighter. Like, the cream's going to rise to the top pretty quickly, and we're going to get there's going to be the young up and comers, and then there's going to be some seasoned amateurs that are ready to go to the pros. But you don't want to send somebody to a professional fight until they've seen everything.
And they have that false sense of security too.
They've come up against a stud wrestler from the Midwest. They've come up against a world-class kickboxer. They've come up against somebody who can do it all. Yeah. Like, you have to see it all before you get to the professional level, because those losses on your record stay with you until they'll still be on the big screen when you fight at the UFC.
It's a good thing about amateur sports too. Right? It really matters, but it doesn't matter. It's all building towards something bigger, right? No one's getting paid. Nobody's making any big bucks off this, right? There are some people that are joining the journey and sponsoring guys to help them with the training camp, because it does get expensive if you work a full-time job. The diet, the supplements, the training, the coach fees, right? So there's a lot of that behind it, and there are some people that get behind people and support them and sponsor them. But yeah, like after this amateur career, you press the reset button and it all resets, right? And you've built some accolades, and then now you get to restart. You're an 0-0 professional jumping into the cage, right? So that's a big thing. And
we've had some really promising amateurs come up and get overconfident or lose a fight for maybe faults or reasons that aren't fault of their own. And it's like, it's okay. I took a lot of losses as an amateur fighter too. It's okay. People don't remember those things. But they
remember 7 fights of the night.
Yeah, exactly. Even those losses, I mean, eventually you get to a point where it's like, the losses as a pro don't matter as long as you went out there and you put it all on the line and you did your
best.
As long as you don't quit,
you're finding yourself.
It's
right?
a win.
Like what you said earlier is helping people find out it's not for them. Like I've found that with agents over the years, where I'm like, you shouldn't be a real estate agent. Like there's some things about being an agent that you have to be good at and be passionate about. And if you don't have those qualities, there's other jobs out there that are way better off for you. And it's a win that we don't work together anymore. Fighters too, right? I'm sure to a certain degree.
What I think a big thing that's changed a lot too, when we were fighting amateur, we would just go and we would just fight. Right now, with the benefit of the internet and social media, there's a whole there's a whole aura about people, and you feel everyone's watching. Nobody cares. Like, let's get honest here. Nobody cares. Everyone's got their own problems, their own family, their own bills.
And that's another lesson they got to learn. You win some, you lose some. It's not whether you win or lose. It's what you do after.
Yeah, and so even though the pressure's there, at the end of the day, your family's still gonna love you, right? Your girlfriend should still love you. Should. And
if your friends leave, if your friends don't want to hang out with you anymore, they weren't your friends.
They weren't your friends. Well, look at our relationship, right? Like we're joking. Again, I haven't physically seen you in a while. I've seen you a bunch more, but a friend to me is somebody that can disappear for 10 years and come back, and
you
the
pick up
energy's
right
still
where
the
you
same.
left
It's
off.
the
Touch base
exact
right
same
off.
thing.
Yep.
And I think more than anything, like the work you do, whether you're in real estate or fighting, you'll make money doing transactions and doing what you do. You become wealthy through the friends who will pick up your call when you're trying to do something like this. And I think of the web of contacts you guys have from TriStar to California to all over Chicago, and what you can do with that now that you guys have the experience and the connections, and you're like, hey, this is all the things we didn't like when we were fighters. Let's do something different. You don't have all the answers right now, but I can only imagine 6, 7, 8 shows in, as it becomes more of a machine, it becomes more fluid. I can only imagine it's going to get better and better and better.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to see the fighters that start now and the ones that are still there 6 shows down the road, again, the cream is going to rise to the top if you guys are really focused on
And
that.
people
And
know,
that's like, and that's an exciting opportunity that people have right now. Like, get at this first show, and then you're gonna see, and like, especially first this one, the first couple, because you're gonna be able to say that, like, oh, I remember seeing
At the
that guy's first, right at the beginning, and it's a cool feeling to watch. Like, you know, you develop an emotional attachment to a fighter that you kind of were rooting for when he was 1-0 or whatever, or 0-0, and you saw his, say, to be able to say, I saw that kid's first fight. Now he's fighting for a world title, right? That's a cool feeling.
Well, watching Lewis Hamilton go from like the juniors to F2 to F1, and then he became one of the best drivers ever. I'm thinking of F1 in this by such comparison from a branding perspective to how you guys are building it, because it is a professional sport with athletes that are on the come up. The come up is the best part of any story. Right? So,
and people love it. People love that story.
you
Right?
watch
They love the Cinderella story.
all the best sports movies are all like the come up, right? That's the fun, and then
the spoiler after, you know what I mean? That's what it's all about. Yeah, no, it's pretty unique. I think we've built, through our character and through our relationships, we've built a whole roster of people that we know, not only like in the London, Ontario scene. Sure. We're talking about Ontario, we're talking about Canada, we're talking about the United States, we're talking about globally, right? Like we all had the opportunity to fight in Japan. We've built connections. So
I'm sure you guys have friends in Brazil too. Right?
fought in Brazil,
Yeah. So like we have through our character, right? We've got those good connections. We've built those relationships, and like we're just doing something. We're building it bigger, right? And the word is getting out, man.
Yeah. Well, you can see obviously it's been all over CTV, all over the news. So if you guys are listening or watching this replay, go to the Rising Stars Fighting Series or send me a DM. I'll connect you with the guys directly. If you're in the London or regional area and you're looking for a gym, reach out to me as well. Adrenaline's been family since I was very, very young in London and helped me get through some pretty tough times. And if you're looking for a gym outside, send me a DM as well. I'm sure these guys have incredible connections pretty much anywhere, but appreciate you guys making the time.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Justin.
you so much
Appreciate
for having
man.
us. See you on Saturday.
See you on Saturday. Awesome.